On my channel, I strive to seek the truth. I strive to seek an understanding, why people do what they do, why they believe what they believe. And we frequently discuss the left, trying to gain an insight into their minds. Because a lot of us are perplexed how the Democrat Party could devolve from a party that had a competing vision on how to achieve a successful America to a party that seemingly hates America and Western values. So in this video, I want to show you what I think is a brilliant explanation of why the Democrat Party has turned into something that has hate and contempt and scorn for the very people they represent. Make sure you guys watch till the end because I know you will get value from this. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but let's start with hearing what I believe to be one of the foundational issues with the modern left.
The Western liberal mind conceives of itself as being good because it's liberal. The Western liberal tells him or herself, I'm a good person because I'm liberal, and I'm liberal because I'm a good person, which means that I believe in things like the brotherhood of man, conscience and compassion, looking after the wretched of the world, the poor and the wretched of the world, standing up against abuses of power. These are all good things, and that's why I'm a liberal. And I'm a liberal because of all these good things. So, one of the expressions of my goodness and my liberalism is that I support the Palestinian Arabs who I think are an oppressed people, and they are oppressed by the Israelis who have taken their land away from them and they are oppressing them. Now, every part of that, in my view, is a lie. But put that to one side. This is what the liberal progressive thinks. And the liberal progressive thinks that supporting the Palestinians is therefore something that makes the liberal progressive a good person. October 7 happened, and suddenly you have a situation in which the people that the liberal progressive has supported as being oppressed, and everything they do is a legitimate defense or resistance against oppression, suddenly we can see that those people have turned into the most bloodthirsty savages that could ever be imagined. Not just people who kill, but who slaughter in a sadistic, barbaric, debauched and depraved fashion that people can't imagine ever happening. They have slaughtered, raped, beheaded, tortured, burned alive babies, children, women, elderly men and others, and in which the people that they have supported as being oppressed are good people because they're victims, are these savages. And the people they have represented as oppressors are the victims. They can't have that. Because if they have that, if they admit that that is the case, then their entire worldview is shattered, because the people, you know, the cause they have supported as representing goodness is shown to be evil. And what does that make them?
So this is Melanie Phillips, and she's discussing why the so-called tolerant left would actually be supporting terrorist groups like Hamas. But her explanation for this one issue can be extrapolated to explain why the left takes the crazy positions that it does. The left engages in their radical policies because they think that they're good people doing a good thing, and they're so invested in the goodness of what they believe they're doing, they can't accept that actual bad outcomes can result from their actions. For instance, their whole support of the radical trans ideology, they justify it by saying, look at this fringe group that is obviously going through something. Let's affirm their confusion because it will make them feel good, without realizing all they're doing is sentencing that person to a life of anxiety and depression and confusion and severe mental problems, as these people daily face the internal battle of knowing that they aren't what they're pretending to be. So in order to alleviate this discomfort, they compel the rest of society to adhere to the same delusional worldview, the priority on acceptance over truth. And they have to tell themselves that this is a good thing, that they're doing the right thing. Otherwise, it's hard to justify encouraging children to take cross-sex hormones, chemically castrate themselves, and undergo mutilating surgery, and becoming a lifelong dependent on expensive medicines and treatments. It's the same thing for the DEI policies. They think it's coming from a place of kindness and compassion. They see certain racial groups performing worse than others, and they think it's automatically due to systemic injustices. So while they're trying to alleviate the problems of the perceived racism and discrimination, they're in fact creating a hierarchy of races, attributing classifications to each race broadly, not even understanding that they're just creating a different form of racism. Like, people think communism just started as gulags and famine and killing people who disagreed with you. No, it starts as an idealistic utopian vision where everybody is equal and the world is fair. But once it's put in practice, the atrocities are inevitable due to the implementation. Now, here she is talking about how this inability to admit that they were wrong and address that they might be supporting something that is objectively bad leads to them shifting and recreating and denying reality.
It makes them evil, so they can't have it. So what do? They go to extraordinary lengths to pretend that black is white, that justice is injustice, that oppression is resistance, and vice versa. So they have to represent the Israelis as being at fault. The Israelis are to blame for what's happened. So there is no better way of blaming people than accusing them of the very thing they are the victim of.
Projection.
So you accuse them of genocide. We hear it also regularly. The Israelis are accused of being Nazis. It's the same thing. It's not simply an offensive thing. It's a very deliberate thing, because if the Israelis are Nazis, then we are free. We, the liberal West, are free of any kind of guilt or any kind of association with bad things, because they are to blame. They are the people who are bad. And so we are free to continue with our fantasies of us being good people.
This is another excellent point. Look at all of the things that they said about Donald Trump, and then look at all the things that the Biden administration actually did. Their intentional labeling of Donald Trump as a Nazi was just a strategy to try to stretch the boundaries of what is good and bad. And if they paint the other side as so viciously, horribly, immorally bad, then everything that they do by comparison is better, is more moral, is more just. Democrats put so much pride in being the side that was morally superior, cared about the institutions, the rule of law, the Constitution, only for their politicians to engage in the exact behavior that they said Donald Trump would do. And because they can't admit that they were wrong and that the side that they picked are actually the bad guys, they just have to make up labels and lobby insults to try to paint Donald Trump as even worse than them.
And I think that's also what lay behind these amazing scenes that we saw on social media of people with their hands tearing down the posters of the hostages. Now you have to ask yourself, what's going through the mind of someone like that? These weren't posters advertising Israel. They weren't advertising the Israeli Defense Forces. They were pictures of babies, of children, of women who had been kidnapped by bloodthirsty monsters, by savage, depraved savages, and were being almost certainly subjected to untold horrors. And yet they were torn down, and the faces of the people tearing them down were contorted very often with rage and hate. And you have to ask yourself, what's going on in the mind of that person? And it seemed to me that they had to literally with their fingernails tear it out of sight. It was something that could not be tolerated to be in existence at all. The very concept of the Israeli babies and children as victims of the people they had been supporting, because it contradicted the narrative on which they had hung their own moral worth.
The left was the side that glorified mental illness because it was just another layer of victimhood status, and she'll talk about that a little later. But when you do something like that and you advocate for and accept all kinds of abnormal behaviors, it's no surprise that you get a base that does things like burn down cities in riots over perceived racial police brutality, or the need to vandalize people's cars because you've labeled the other side as so vile that these unhinged people believe it is their moral obligation to engage in vandalizing a random person's private property. You get campuses taken over by encampments because the left believes, because they are the good ones, that they have a right to impose their beliefs, even in a violent way, to further their cause and get their message across. They believe because they are the one true good and the other side is evil, that there is no reason to have discourse or discussion or debate with the other side. They claim that their position is one of tolerance, but the truth is they're only tolerant of things they agree with or things they believe in, and they are very intolerant of anybody who disagrees with them, because in their mind, their intentions are pure and compassionate. And if you disagree with that, then the foundation for your disagreement is you're a bad person. And they feel as if they have an obligation to not allow your dialogue, your evil ideas and opinions to even be discussed. Here's where she gets into their main strategy of trying to abolish truth. And this is really insightful.
Because the progressive liberal mindset has also been to invert reality. It was decades ago that the West told itself, that Western intellectuals told themselves that objective truth was no more. There was no such thing as objective truth. Anyone who believes there is such a thing as absolute or objective truth is quite clearly, in this way of thinking, a complete intellectual cretin. Only, sophisticated people know that everything is a matter of opinion. Feelings trump facts. And if there are no such thing as truth, there is no such thing as a lie. And consequently, you cannot have a distinction between truth and lies. It's only a matter of opinion.
This is one of the key issues with the modern left and their feeling of intellectual and moral superiority. They go to college and they get exposed to all these hypothetical academic theories, and then they start looking at the world through a lens of what if, instead of understanding and acknowledging that there are truths, there are facts, there is reality. Gender is fluid. Borders are racist. Being obese isn't unhealthy. Western values are bad and imperialistic. Like, I was watching a video of somebody trying to explain what a woman is, and they said it's somebody who presents as a woman to society. Obviously, the definition doesn't make sense, but the bigger point is they use this academic terminology, presents, as if that's a real thing. No regular person wakes up in the morning and asks themselves how they want to present today. No normal woman wakes up and thinks, I'm a woman, so I can't wait to face the onslaught of misogyny today, so maybe I should dress and present like a man, and then I will walk into rooms and be respected and given promotions and receive all the wondrous benefits of the patriarchy. These fake, sophisticated liberals think that they're enlightened and philosophical when all they've done is filled their mind with utter nonsense that dictates the way that they interact and behave in the real world.
So if you get rid of truth, you get rid of rationality. And you open the way to what we have developed, which is the belief that, as Oprah Winfrey said to Meghan Markle, your truth. You have your truth, I have my truth. Well, excuse me, I mean, what's she talking about? She's talking about opinions, and she's talking at the worst level about, lies being someone else's truth. It's a mind-frying kind of hijack of language that we're living through. But going on, what have we created in the West, in the progressive West? as a result of this business of, it's my truth, everything's a matter of opinion, my feelings trump facts. It's all to do with the individual. What the individual wants, what the individual says, what the individual feels is what is. And that has led to our victim culture, in which I feel oppressed by you, and because I feel oppressed by you, I am oppressed by you, even though I may have been absolutely dreadful to you and have caused you to lose your job and all your social circle and all your prospects, but nevertheless, I'm the victim of you.
This was the total hypocrisy with the entire transgender movement. They complained that they were an oppressed, small minority, but yet they had the backing of Hollywood, academia, corporate America, the government. They were given prime status in the left's victimhood hierarchy, affording them the privilege of making everybody around them so uncomfortable, so careful to say the right thing, because everyone knew that this person had the power to get you fired, to get your business ruined, to get you socially canceled, but yet they still wanted to claim victimhood. Same for Black people when it comes to DEI. They claim that they're systemically oppressed, but yet they were given priority in hiring, in college admissions, in playing characters in movies that were historically played by white people, and enforced an ideology that if you did not include a Black person, it was because you were inherently evil and racist. This cultural position influenced education, government, finance, business, but yet they claimed victimhood at every single turn. Even though you look around the world and you see nothing but equality. We've had a Black president. There's Black business leaders, government leaders. You were taught a radical leftist theory in college, and now you've adopted it as your worldview. And so you feel as if you're being oppressed. So therefore, your truth states that you are oppressed. And this emphasis and prioritization on feelings and emotional coddling led to the restriction in freedom of speech, in understanding and accepting truths in order not to offend someone. Again, their mission that starts from a position of good and compassion, at least they think so, inevitably ends up turning into some total authoritarian and fascist implementation. Now, here's the final part where she talks about how this self-obsession has led to the downfall of the modern liberal.
So it's that kind of inversion that you can do no right because you are an oppressor group. You are white, you are male, you are Christian, you are Western, whatever it is. You're an oppressor group, therefore you can do no right. And I am Black, I come from a developing world country, I am not conventionally gendered or sexualized, whatever it is. I define myself as a minority victim group. I can therefore do no wrong because I'm a victim. I must be the victim of you, even though I have told lies about you, I have damaged you. This is irrelevant. Because I feel that I'm a victim, I am a victim. So you have a Western progressive mindset, which because it's abolished truth and reason, and because it's embraced hyper-individualism and victim culture, has inverted reality.
This ideology of selfishness and arrogance and pretentiousness is what leads people to think that their personal feelings or wants or desires are the most important thing that exists. We used to get told the world doesn't revolve around us. Now the message from the left is the world does revolve around you, and your perceived plights are real, even if they're not. I feel as if Donald Trump is a Nazi. So even if a 13-year-old kid, brain cancer survivor, has a wondrous moment, you can't stand up and cheer for that because it's a Nazi doing it. I feel as if Elon Musk is going to steal Social Security. So therefore, I am rationally justified in believing he will. Despite all the evidence proving otherwise, the left has to feel that they are the good guys, because if they don't believe that, It's like the lady said, their entire worldview of what they believe, of what they support, will be turned upside down. And they'll be forced to have the realization that they were supporting mutilating and chemically castrating kids, forcing women to compete in sports with men, opening our borders to the entire third world because Western culture is bad, allowing millions to suffer through drug trafficking and human trafficking through the cartels because of our open border policies, protesting in favor of continued government waste and corruption, advocating for endless war in Ukraine that is costing thousands of people their lives every single week, weaponization of the justice system to go after an opposing political candidate, Joe Biden preemptively pardoning his family, his son, after he said he wouldn't. The track record of the left is so horrendous that these people at this point can't even open their eyes to the reality of the situation and admit that they were wrong, because they'll be forced to see the truth, which is they didn't just support one bad thing. They supported a laundry list of atrocities. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.